Hello, hey everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey Beth, hey Vikram.
Hello.
Hey,
How is it going?
Great.
spectacularly well, thank you.
Already see plenty of people on the chat. John, always on time, always here. Nice to see you. Hey Sensei, hey Hallie, hey everyone. Names are flowing in. Hey Neil, how are you doing? Cool. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Postman live stream, our weekly live stream. I'm here with a couple of guests. So I'm myself, Alimi. I'm a developer advocate at Postman. I'm based in London, and today we're welcoming someone else from the UK. Beth, how are you doing?
Hello. So yes, I am not a Postman employee, but I am an avid Postman fan and have been for quite some time. So I am, as Alami said, I am based in the UK, but a little further north in Leeds. And yeah, I'm excited to look a little bit more and hopefully do a bit of teaching today, all about flows. So, yeah.
Nice. And on the other side, from the Postman side this time, we also have Vikram.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm also developer advocate based from India, Mumbai. And thanks, Alami. Thanks, Brett, for joining.
No worries. Actually, yeah, one thing I didn't mention, maybe you've seen that stream was meant to be with Sean. I'm not Sean. Turns out Sean has some internet issues, so he couldn't join today. But you'll probably see him in the next stream or the next one. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm filling in. Yeah, Beth mentioned what we're going to do today. We'll do flow stuff. If you're not familiar with what flow is, it's a new concept in Postman, I would say, which is a higher level, which we call low code. So it's a nice way to chain your request and to do some automation with your request. So we'll do a bit of that in a few minutes. But before that, we usually start the stream with a "in case you missed it" section. So I'm going to share my screen for a minute. So in case you missed it, what we do, we just walk through what was released in Postman in the next week. I see plenty of people saying hi. Hey everyone. Hey startup Sanatana. Hey Shreya. So yeah, what happened? The main one that happened is this one. Stay on top of your API deployments, AWS API gateway integration. So if you've used the AWS integration previously, it's not new. We've had that somehow before, but what you could do, you could keep an eye on the thing that you had already deployed on AWS. But now what this allows you to do, and the great part is that not only you can keep an eye on what's deployed, but you can also deploy directly from Postman. So let's say you have your API specification that is in the as an API in Postman, straight from Postman, you can go ahead and just deploy it, and then you have this nice interface. You can see the different stages, you can see different deployments, etc. So if you're an AWS user, if you're using the AWS API Gateway. Check that out. I'm gonna drop that in the chat and give you all a chance to go and have a look. Vikram, was there anything else that was released in the last week, or is that it?
I really don't have any idea now.
Okay, I mean that might just be it. So with that, I'm going to stop the in case you missed it and stop sharing my screen. Actually, no, I'll keep it on because we talked about flows. One way to learn about flows, and for now, the main place for flows are in beta, and we have some sort of a champion program which Beth is part of. So Beth has been like working with the team, and she's interacted with them more than all of us. So she probably knows more than us at Postman, or some of the Postman employees, about flows, and that's what you're going to see during this stream. But if you're someone from outside Postman and you want to learn more about it, you can go to this GitHub repo, and you'll find the basic documentation of what are flows. And here's a screenshot of what this is, which is again this quick UI of how to link requests together, as well as some documentation. So what are the different blocks for? What are the different data types, etc. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I want to leave it to Beth and Vikram to kind of discuss it and discover together. So I'm just going to drop this link in the chat and stop sharing. And I guess it's all yours now. I guess, Beth, take it away. Let us know what you do with flows, how it helps you, what's your experience with it.
Cool. Yeah. So flows has been around, I think, for maybe, I want to say 3 months or so. So it's not a crazy amount of time. And it's, yeah, as Alami said, it's still a feature that is in beta. They are still ironing out the kind of issues with it. So we may come across 1 or 2 of those today. Which is fine. That's what a beta's for, right? So I think the main thing that I am enjoying about flows, aside from learning about them, is the fact that my background is in development. So writing complex JavaScript in pre-requests and tests, tabs in your collection, I find that quite tricky historically. But it was the only way of moving data, passing data through. And then flows came along. And as more of a visual learner myself, I find it much easier when I can see exactly where information is going. And I love flows for that. There's also a few, hopefully I will get to teach Vikram a couple of neat things that flows does, which I think are good for all levels of developers as well, to just try and have that. I kind of think of flows as flowing across collections and across environments like water, right? So it's quite powerful what it can do. So yes, shall we kick off, Vikram, or did you have any questions?
Yes, I'm curious to learn. I'm new to flows, and yes.
Yeah, I do want to say, so as you'll see, Beth knows more than us. We'll take the blame. It's fine. So there's 2 reasons I would say. It's first, if you don't know, there's so much to Postman that it's very hard to know all of it. The second one is, Flow is very new. So it's not been our focus yet. It's still in beta. People are playing with it. But hopefully after this, we'll all be experts, thanks to Beth.
Yes, experts is a lovely word, isn't it? Yeah, I think the idea from speaking to the Flows team at Postman, who are absolutely lovely, they would really like to get as much feedback as possible to hopefully try and push this out of beta over the coming, we're talking months, not not 6 months or longer. So they're kind of in those final refinement things. So hopefully we might be able to give them some input from this session. And what I would love as well is to hear if anyone has any interesting use cases that they are using flows for, because I think it's quite a powerful thing, and I've kind of scratched the surface from a sort of beginner intermediate level, but I'm sure there is tons and tons of stuff that it can do. So as we're going through this stuff, if you think of any questions or examples, then feel free to get those in the chat. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So while Vikram shares his screen, we already have a question from John. Says, can a flow be exported to JSON? Not yet. There's no direct export. It's not even like an entity by itself. Like for now, you can build stuff in flows, but you can't really share them or export them. This is definitely something that is going to happen at some point. We want the flows to be an entity that you'll be able to run, etc. But not yet. Also, we missed a little message before from. I want to say the name right. Post-it 59. Working on a GitHub action which aims to trigger a monitor after deployment. That's very cool. We love seeing people building this type of stuff. So when you have it, make sure that you share it on the community forum. It's community.postman.com. And then you can get some feedback and you can have other people starting to use it. Okay, Vikram.
Yeah.
Bring your screen.
And here we go.
Okay, let me bring it here. I'll start with putting our faces at the bottom here. If it's in the way, in the way, I'll just move them around as needed. You might want to zoom in, Vikram, once or twice. Yeah, that should be better.
Good enough, yeah.
Fab. So we're going to be using two different collections today. So let's go ahead and get those in. And if anyone wants to follow along.
So, yeah. So what's the first step? What should I do?
Okay. So the first collection we're going to be looking at is actually one of Kinlane's collections, which is all about weather. So if you search in there for weather, you should see an API Evangelist public workspace. That's the one.
Okay.
Have a click on that. And then the area you're looking for is the open weather map. So if you go ahead and fork that collection.
I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat if anyone wants to get it as well. At the same time.
Let's keep it a name.
Nice. See what you did there.
I think we have Devrel Republic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So as with a lot of public APIs, in order to use this, it requires an API key. So for anyone watching that wants to get theirs, you'll need to just hop onto the Open Weather Map website. I can get those credentials for you. It's openweathermap.org. And we'll drop it into the chat here.
I think, Vikram, you've created an account before, right?
Yeah. I have the API. We can start with that. I've already created one.
Fab. It doesn't look like I can drop things into the into the group chat, Palmy, so if you can paste that in. And then you just need to register for an API there, and then you can find that key and copy it in. So what a good thing to. So if you go ahead and go to the environments down the left-hand side, Vikram.
On the left.
Yeah.
Okay, or you can add it from the drop down if you've not added it yet. Okay, so this is our this is our weather environment, isn't it? If you add in a token variable.
Okay.
And a really neat feature that some people might be aware of, but this is quite a new thing in Postman. If you want to use secret information to keep that private to yourself, you can specify that the type is secret, and then that gets pasted in as a series of kind of circles that no one
So
can read.
yeah, but so before we hop on to the process and we start building a flow, can you
Mhm.
can you just have an overview that what we have an end goal, like what we will be doing, uh, like in this team, what we want to achieve?
Yes, good question. So what I'd really like to have achieved by the end of this stream is to have a couple of example flows which demonstrate a few key features. I'd love to do 3 if we've got time. If not, then I'll settle for 2. And they are to demonstrate some of the features that in the blog post that I did, the ones which seem to be the most popular with people. So yeah, we should have a couple of workflows demonstrating the key features of flows by the end of this stream.
Nice.
Awesome. And like we fork this weather map API collection. So are we going to like uh, build some loop or something, like what exactly we want to achieve with this collection, the weather map
So
collection?
this collection is going to form part of our first flow. And part of our first flow is going to be a test summary report. So I'm a tester and have been for the last 14 years. So I always come at things from a testing point of view. And I want to know, I want to create a test summary that uses examples from different collections. So that's what we want to do with this. That's why we're putting in this particular collection, because we want that to form part of our flow there.
Cool.
So if you,
I was just going to say, Vikram, can you zoom in? Because I see someone saying the quality is might be a bit low. Can you zoom in once more? Yeah, okay, that should help. Thank
right.
you.
So if you've got your API key there, Vikram, if you wanted to specify the type as secret and then paste in the value.
I won't show or share this.
Perfect. So we can see that secret is working really well. Well done, Postman. It's awesome. It's awesome for live streams like this, and you're not giving anything away. Okay, so we've got our token value. What we need to do now is just quickly set up the data in the call that we want to put in. So if you select the forecasted weather call, so the second call down in the open weather map collection, if you go to the forecasted weather endpoint, that's it. Perfect. Okay, so these are the values that we just need to update to make sure that the request is going to work correctly. So for app ID, just delete that, delete the string, and then add in the token parameter that we've just added. Perfect. Cool. For the Q value, let me just double check this. So the Q value, we want that to be the city that our fictitious hotel, we're going to be using the RESTful Booker API, and that's going to be in some city somewhere. So let's go for Chicago.
Probably a nice city to stay in.
It's, yeah. My brother lives just outside Chicago and we're hoping to visit this year.
Nice.
Okay, so you can untick everything else on the left-hand side from ID all the way down to zip. We don't need that
Zip.
information. That's just other ways of identifying that that data. For units, go ahead and type imperial. So we're going the US format for our weather data. In language, if you type EN for English, and the mode, we want that to be HTML, just like the examples. Perfect. Great.
Yeah, I was going to say that's actually a well-documented
Very
collection,
good.
because you can see the thing on the already there
Yeah.
on the right.
Yeah, really good. So if you try this out, if you go ahead and select the environment that you've added
I don't know, like why
from the
this name.
environment drop down in the top left, top right, if you select the
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's called. I think it's not picking up the new name. It's called
Oh,
new
okay, but it has
environment.
selected
I-
it.
yeah. Actually, I don't know, like what's going
Try
there.
It
refreshing
should be
the
fine
page.
because we can see those values have gone
Yeah.
orange, which means that they're kind of recognized, right? So go ahead and send that and see if that call works.
I refreshed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to see if it
Yeah.
picks up the name now. Let's give it a sec.
Awesome. Oops.
Okay, interesting.
Oh my god!
Okay,
It
you
is
might
not
have
saved.
to recreate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there might have been like a quick sync problem. Okay, I see. In the meantime, while you recreate the environment, we have someone who just joined. So for anyone who just joined, hello. We are exploring the Postman flows, which is a new feature in Postman, which allows you to create workflows using different collections, different requests, but in a nice low-code way. We have Beth, who's going to help Vikram going through different ways of doing that, and we have Neil saying the classic tester's curse. Indeed.
Yes. Absolutely true. Okay, so this looks good. If we click send, I should expect to get a 200 response here. And what this is doing is polling for 4 hourly intervals of weather data. So we can see here there's a temperature value. We can see the and what the icon should be if it's going to be cloudy. So it doesn't look too bad in Chicago at the moment, I don't think. It's looking okay. Okay, great.
It has like a couple of data and values.
Yeah, that's
Very
a lot
huge.
of data.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we've got our first collection in and we've got that running. So the next thing we want to do is get the other collection and then our setup will be done. So we're getting all this setup out of the way. That is a Postman collection that is on GitHub. I will. So go ahead, go to Google. So this is the Postman collection that I created for my Test Automation University course on Postman. And it is based on Amber Race's amazing TAU course. If anyone hasn't done it, please do, called Exploring Service APIs Through Test Automation. If you go ahead and go to Google, Vikram.
Yep.
And look for GitHub. Beth.
Yeah, Beth Marshall seems to work.
Yeah, Beth Marshall should work.
Just Google it because I don't think that's the actual. Nope.
That's not me. One day. Future me. Not that much in the future either. Okay, Ask Her Consulting. That's the one. Perfect.
Wow.
Awesome. Okay. So you should see one that's got a lot of forks off there, and that's the one we're looking at. So the one on the top left, Explore with Postman, that's the repo that we want.
That is a lot of forks, yeah?
It is. Yeah, the course is super popular. Like, it's people love Postman, don't they? Me included. Okay, so what we want to do is fork this code. And then you can import that from Postman, right? Yeah,
that's actually pretty cool because we rarely do that flow on streams. I think we usually we do what you've done at the start, forking from another workspace, or we just have a link and we'll import using the link. So showing that flow is going to be cool.
Okay, let's try. So what we want to do, go to the import button, go to code repo all along the right there, click GitHub. Hopefully it won't give away any of your credentials. Sorry if it does. Brilliant. And then you want to use that explore with Postman repo that you've just added. Perfect. Fabulous.
Nice.
So the only thing to do here is untick the local environment, because we don't need that. And we're just going to be using the public production environment.
Okay. So like RESTful Booker and production. Okay.
That's it. So you've got one collection and one environment that should be automatically imported. So I like to use this if I can from Git, because it's just it's nice and neat.
So Vikram, what you can do to help you for the rest of the stream, you can star the Open Weather Map collection. Yeah.
Yes.
And then start the RESTful Booker. So now we have them both at the top. And that's the two ones you'll be working with. And we don't have
Although I am hugely distracted because I saw a Eurovision collection in there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out at some point if that's public.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our collections here. There's no API token that you need for the RESTful Booker API, because it's kind of a learning environment that was created and maintained by the awesome Mark Wintringham. So yeah, props to him for keeping that going all this time. What you need to do, or what we're going to have a quick look at, now we've got our two workflows in there, is to just view the information that we're going to be adding to our flows. So the flow you're going to be looking at for, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. But let's just talk about RESTful Booker real quick for anyone that doesn't know it. So this is a really useful learning set of APIs, or set of endpoints, and it is a fictitious hotel that we are going to say is in Chicago for the purposes of this live stream. And you can do lots of things pretending to be an owner or a user of this particular website. So we can see here, you can create a booking, you can change that booking, and you can get bookings. And when Amber wrote this a lot of this data, so a lot of these endpoints have tests in them that you can go and view yourself, and a lot of them had to have a lot of pre-requests JavaScripts and test JavaScripts to pass that data through. So this is a really good candidate for flows, I think, because it shows you what you can do without needing to use all that. So are we ready to start our flow?
I am, because I don't have to do anything.
Yes.
Okay, so
are we going to do something with Booker thing, like here creating or like modifying any bookings?
Yes, we're going to be using a couple of endpoints from this API. So the endpoints we are going to be using are, for this one, we're going to be using the ping endpoint, which is just at the bottom there, the get ping endpoint. And we're also going to be using one of the post requests for create booking. The first name is null endpoint there. Okay. So what we want to do is, I want to execute the tests that are against these endpoints, and also execute the test that's against the weather endpoint that we looked at first. So without the use of flows, I have no way of doing all those things at once. I can't see that. I can't do that. I have to do it separately. With flows, even though they're in different environments, even though they're in different collections, you can poll all that data and spit it out into one test summary report. So that's what we're going to do now.
Yeah, that's a good point, that with the current workflow, or like before we had flows, even if you use the in code thing with the set next request, you're limited to what is in the same collection.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you could just put everything in the same collection, But yeah, that's a good point.
So if you take a look on the left-hand side there, you have collections, APIs, environments, and you've got
Flows.
it. You've got flows there. So go ahead and click that. We are going to make your first ever flow, Vikram. How exciting. Okay.
Yes.
True. Okay. Should have thought of that before. So what you can do, Vikram, can you fork the collections you've just created to your personal workspace? And then we just move to your personal workspace to do that, because flows are not available in public workspaces. So if you get this one, oh yeah, you can even move.
You can move. Yeah.
True. So if you're following us on YouTube, Vikram just released the level up video recently where he explains how to move stuff and the value of it. So now he's going to show it live. Yeah, with the space, I think. Okay. Can you move it to? Yeah,
Level
move
up
it to that one.
workspace.
Yeah, level up. And then you want to move that one too.
Will we need to move the environments as well?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
And then environment.
This is the live level up.
I think level up is I don't even know. I think it's for some API that is called level up. So we're just going to use this one because it was the one that was there. It has nothing to do with anything we're doing here. Okay, so Beth, are we correct that there's 2 environments and 2 collections?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move to that workspace.
Oh, this is team, right?
Yeah, that's fine. So
And
we can't do flows in public workspaces. So let's use
okay.
let's use a team one.
Just closing this.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
And here we should be able to create flows. Nice.
So just checking. We have open API, open weather map, forecast.
One last thing to do when you're in there, Vikram, just add a quick test in. If you go into the test tab, because we're going to be running a report that checks the tests in there, let's go ahead and just add a snippet in to check the status.
The successful one?
Yeah, that's perfect.
This one?
Okay, yeah. You might want to change the title as well, so we know this is where it's coming from. So, sorry, not the title of the thing, the title of the pm.test. So where it says status code is 200, maybe say weather API status code is 200. And this will all become clear why we need this differentiator in a moment.
In the meantime, because that question came up a couple of times already, I see people asking, is there any roles at Postman? So I'm just going to shamelessly plug a link to our carries page. If you're wondering, go check it out. We do have open positions for many, many roles. So go ahead and apply there.
Just, we have production. Okay.
Perfect.
I think let's move this production one to the go with flow environment. So we
Well, I think we keep it different because I want to show that you can specify different environments in flows. So that's a really good point that you're making, though. If you mentally, if you're a Postman user and you're used to using Postman all the time, you get really used to going into that top right-hand corner and changing your environment when you change the collection in order to pull the variables in that you want. You do not have to do that in flows. So flows has a really neat way around that issue. So go ahead and select your flows area and click the create flow button. You can also click the little plus button above on the kind of left-hand widget there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will allow you to do the same thing. Or you can select the new button at the top and select flows from there. All does exactly the same thing.
Yes, this one.
That's it. Perfect. So they are the different ways of creating a flow. So this is our kind of canvas. And this is where we put all of our blocks, which will make up our flow. So, yep, pick a title for that. Okay. So the first thing we want to do, let's add in, let's just explain what we can see here. So we have a kind of a canvas that looks quite different to other things in Postman.
Yeah.
It looks like, I don't know, it always reminds me of something that a designer would use to etch a design for something. You've got a start button there that you can move around. And also on the bottom of the screen, we can see some options there to zoom in and out, to fit and to...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I think this is better.
Yeah,
it's really fun to play around with. Like, it's aesthetically very nice.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got two start buttons, one on the bottom thing there. They're exactly the same thing. And we've got a block button. So this allows us to add blocks to our flow. So if you scroll down some of these blocks, so some of these values have evolved as the beta has evolved. And I made a few videos when Flows was first released, and some of the stuff that's in there is no longer valid. So we can see there's some deprecated items. We're not going to be touching any of those today because at some point they will be removed completely. So we can see here lots of blocks. So each one of these is a different thing you can do in Flows, a different action, a different thing that would normally be a block of JavaScript, but is now a physical, not physical, but an actual block.
An actual block, yeah.
That you can play with. So go ahead and go to the send request flow. You can scroll down or you can type it in the search bar, whatever you prefer. Cool.
Oh, wow.
So because you selected the plus block there, that has created a floating request. You can also use the start button, and that will give you a connected version. Okay, so we can, that's cool. So we have our send request and that is connected. Go ahead and delete that one for now. That's connected to our start button. So if you were to press that start button now, nothing really would happen. You can see something moving, but we're getting a big red block there. So that's telling us something's not right. And that's because we haven't configured the block. So what we want to do is to tell Postman what request we want to send. And this is where the good bit about Flows comes in, because there are two things to configure here. Well, three things. You can add the request to send. So go ahead and click there. And that brings up all of your collections. So you can select from any collection in your workspace. So open weather map. And we want to use the get forecasted weather call. So it brings that up for us. That little triangle just tells us that there aren't any examples against that particular endpoint that Postman can use to try and figure out what values we might want to be using. But it makes no difference to whether the flow will work or not. So for our purposes, we can just ignore that triangle for now. So then we can select the environment. So you can use the environment variables that are in any of your environments.
There's actually, I mean, I know when Flow was released, that was not there, right? Like you couldn't select a different environment, and I think you only had variables that were local to your flows. So I've actually not used Flow since they've added that. It's pretty cool.
It's so much better, isn't it? The team definitely listened to the feedback there.
So you said like Arlemi, this was not there.
Yeah, you couldn't select environments before. It was just a request.
So what was the initial method? This one?
You would just put it in the request. You would hardcode, or you could like set
Okay,
variables directly in the flows. But yeah.
got
So what we want to do here, we don't need to allocate any variables to this request because all we're doing is executing it, including the tests that we've got in that request. So if you go ahead and press start now, instead of seeing a big red angry thing, you should see a nice green tick.
Wow.
So that tells us we're on the money. Okay, we're doing all right. So what we want to do now is go back to that start button right at the beginning of our flow.
This
At the
one?
beginning of the flow, perfect. And then we want to add another event. Great. So we want to add another send request. And this time we don't want to choose that API and we don't want to choose that environment. We want our RESTful Booker API. So click perfect. If you go to RESTful Booker BVT, and then you select all the way down at the bottom the get ping request. So I guess this is a pretty critical endpoint that you want to be eyeballing quite regularly to make sure it's okay. Go ahead and select the environment. So you're cottoning on to how the flow hangs together and the things you need to put in there. So does it feel intuitive to you, Vikram?
Yeah, like this is like pretty simple. I am just playing with different stuff. I don't need to write a particular pm dot send request and then select some APIs the old
Yeah.
way of doing that. Yeah.
Great. So go ahead now and select our production environment because that's what we're using for our RESTful Booker. Okay. And you can add a third request in if you like, but we don't need to do that. So what we've got there is 2 requests. Press that, click that start button so we can get a nice green.
Wow.
Green makes me happy.
Beth, as you've played a lot with flows already, have you reached a limit to how many requests? Is that something you've tested?
No, I'm
No.
desperate to though. I really want to see how big the canvas can get. Because my use case for this, right, is you've got a number of collections and you just want to have a quick eyeball of my critical tests passing.
Yeah.
Is everything okay right across the suite of collections that you've got? And this would be a brilliant way of doing this. So we've got our 2 requests. They're running in 2 different collections using 2 different sets of environment variables. But now we want to route them both back together to one test summary report. So if you hover over the blue, we can see there are 2 options. And these little blue crosses tell us what we want to do with the output of the data. So what we want to do is click on the test option. So we want to execute those tests and then we want to plumb that into a test summary report. So go ahead and select test summary.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you can give that whatever name you like. It obviously defaults to default.
Makes sense.
Success.
Yeah, perfect. Great stuff. Okay, so another thing to talk about briefly with flows. If you look in the top right-hand corner of the canvas there, you can see a terminal option and a test summary option. Now, they will provide you with data that gives you, in the terminal's case, it will give you the output of a particular response that you're sending. But it will only do that if you have a terminal block within your flow. So unless you have that, there is no terminal, there is nothing to propagate there. So we now have a test summary panel. So you were hovering over exactly the thing that I was thinking of doing. Click on that little test button, and we want to, instead of creating a new test summary, what we want to do is flow both of the requests through the same test summary. So go ahead and cancel that for me.
Where?
If you click the close button on the one that you've got now. So we don't want that because that's a second test summary. Start from the test summary block, the little blue box to the left hand side of the
Like
test
you were
summary,
before.
where you were before.
This one?
Yeah.
So in the test summary block that we've got already.
But don't
Oh,
don't
sorry.
click. Do a drag and drop. So click on
That's
the test on the left where you were, like, yeah, and yeah.
Oh,
perfect. Yeah.
got it.
So you could start with test summary and drop it back into the request, or you could do it the other way around. And what we've done there is we are pulling those test results into a single test summary. So if you go ahead and open on the right hand side, if you open the test summary drop down now, and we'll show you that should be empty. So there's a terminal drop down, test summary drop down. Okay, click the default button. That's it, perfect. Refresh that second. You might need to refresh it once we've put data through there because it's not actually created it yet. Now click start. Are you ready?
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Let's yeah.
Even if it doesn't work, we have some people are just fine with just looking at the UI, even if it doesn't work. So
it's a lovely thing. You're so right. It is a thing of beauty, and it's lovely to play with. So now, if you go ahead and reopen that test summary area and click the default drop down. So on
This one?
that's it. Yeah. On the right hand, that's it. Perfect. If you click the default, the little arrow next to the default, we can see our success call. And now we can see we have a test summary report that tells us the ping is successful for our first request to the RESTful Booker API. And we've also got that weather API status code. So that's how you know I'm not cheating. It is pulling it in from those two things. And I think that's a really, really cool thing you can do in Flow. So yeah, I'd love to see someone do this with like 50 calls and see that test summary report come through. That would be ace. So in sum then, what we've done is we've created a test summary report by adding 2 send request blocks to our flow and then joining them to the test summary via the test output option. What we can now do, unless you want to do anything more with this flow, Vikram, we can move on to the next one.
I want to check what responses it will send to this terminal.
Perfect.
So
let's do that.
Yes.
So there will be nothing in terminal now because we don't have a terminal block. If you want to see what the response for a particular endpoint or set of endpoints are, you do exactly what we did with the test summary, but you choose the response value and you output that to a terminal.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and use the default option. That's fine. We should just see that if you want to. Cool. Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead and click start.
What if I join both?
Yeah, give that a go.
Let's see.
Oh, it looks so nice. I love the little dots moving as well.
Yeah.
So as a visual person, being able to see exactly where that thing is flowing is just so helpful to me.
Yeah. One thing that I would like is a snap to grid kind of thing. Because
Right.
I'm a bit OCD on the sides, and having them like very well like aligned, etc., would make my day.
Yeah, agreed. It's a bit wonky, isn't it?
Well, that's probably what makes the beauty of it as well. It's just like
This is okay,
all this
or
way.
like
So
Yeah.
perfect. So let's take a look in our terminal block now.
wow.
So this is the same kind of data that you would see in your runner, I guess. If you viewed the output or in the console logs. Exactly the same, but this gives you the data for both of those endpoints.
Yes. And I was just searching for the ping request. This one, what exactly this ping has given us. I
It's a
don't
really
see like
long
Yeah.
request,
yeah.
isn't it?
No, I was just searching for this ping request. Is it like it just gives 200 or maybe some response? I was just checking for the response from the second request.
It's probably if you scroll all the way to the bottom, that should be, yeah. That should
No,
just
there
be,
is
yeah, that's, you can see, like, it's just scroll, yeah, it starts right here.
this one.
Scroll back a little bit.
Okay,
Scroll back just a bit. Yeah, see here? There's like 3
okay.
dashes. So the 3
Oh, this
dashes is
one.
the split between the different responses.
And right down at the bottom there, just to kind of tease you a little bit, you see a parameter there called durable. And we are going to explain what that parameter is, because that's another really neat flows feature. So are we happy to move on to the next one? Did anyone have any questions at this point they wanted to
Next one.
ask? We're good? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So I think we should move on to one of the things that people really want to do with flows as a basic use case, which is passing a variable. So how do you pass data from one request to another request in flows? So what we're going to do to walk you through the kind of use case for this, or the endpoints that we're going to be using, we're going to go ahead and use 2 endpoints from the same collection this time. So we're going to go into RESTful Booker. The first request we're going to send is a create booking, a valid create request. Cool. If you open that up, that's all good. So we can see here, obviously you need to select the environment, but this will generate a new booking. So go ahead and send that request if you're happy with it. There's lots of random data in here. So that gets us a 200 request and a much smaller response here, which should be a bit more pleasant for people. The value we care about is booking ID. So if we want to get information about that booking ID in a GET request, we need to pass that variable to that request. So if you open the Get Booking by ID endpoint there, perfect, and you go for existing ID. So we can see their booking ID is in red, and that's because it's an unresolved variable. We don't know what that booking ID is yet. So what we want to do is pass the booking ID from our post request and then say, use this one when you're getting the information about it. Okay, so let's take a look at that in flows. Bring flows back up, please. Perfect. Go ahead. You know the different ways of creating a new flow. Excellent. So this should start to look kind of, familiarity is key, isn't it? It all looks new and stuff at the start, and then the more you get used to it, the more you think, oh, okay, you get into a rhythm with it. So what we're going to do again is send a request,
And the request is from this
the
one.
RESTful Booker, and it's the create booking valid create. Okay, and we're going to select that environment, our production environment. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do something different. And what we're going to do is create something called a durable, which is what we saw at the end of that terminal response data. And that's one way flows can pass this data through. So if you select the response little blue icon to the right of that, yeah, we're going to take that response and we're going to create a durable. Click the create durables box, or you can type it in the search bar, whatever you prefer. So you've got it. Press the add data to make durable. We may need to run the request first.
Okay.
Let's try doing that so it knows what to expect. Close that down and click start.
So that's what the little warning sign was about, right? Like if you've not run it, it's using examples to see like the type of data that the API would return. And otherwise you need to run it at least once, so it has an example of the response, and it can
So it knows you're giving it its data. So let's click add data to make durable. And in here, there's a couple of areas. It tells us the data that we're getting there. If we click on the configuration tab at the top, perfect. So we are going to add in a new value. So if you add a key of booking, BOOKING _ID, all lowercase, perfect. And then in the value box, click in there and see what happens. Okay. So there's a couple of things, and I am going to be pretty rubbish at trying to explain all of this. But this is the list of the data that we pulled through when we press that start button. And what we want to do is create a durable record, which is a kind of how Flows will store that information for us. One thing to note that throws me often is things get a lot easier when you start and end these things with brackets. So always try and remember to do that. So if you hit the bracket open button, perfect. And then you go into durable. No, not durable. Sorry, forgive me. Go back. Go into data. Yeah. And then
yeah.
Are you with me, Alamy? I'm expecting to see it look down into the response of the values that we sent in, so we can pick out the booking ID.
Can you go back once?
Should I close this?
Just erase data.
Okay.
And make sure that you click on the little like caret next
Expanding,
to data.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. Okay. So what we're going to select is the booking ID there. And then we're going to do a close bracket, which I'm not sure if that's on an option in here. I think you need to type it into the keyboard. Okay, perfect. So what we've said there is we want to create a new key or a new key value pair, which is our booking ID. And we want that to be comprised of the response, the booking ID value in the response data of that last request. Cool. So let's close that down. We're happy with that.
I'm going to quickly jump in because I've had some messages I've not replied to for a while, but I don't want people to get ignored. I know we have some, we have Jan Douglas that just posted a feature request, because I know when we explored the terminal, it was kind of hard to see the differences between responses. It says feature ID on the last output. Instead of using 3 dashes to separate data, could we export all of that as a JSON array or something instead? I'm guessing that's going to be possible at some point. Like we do want to make things reusable. And I also know we have people from the Postman Flows team in the chat. So I'm sure now that I've put it on the screen, they've seen it, and they'll give a better reply.
Awesome. Okay, so you're getting into the habit of clicking that start button as you're building your flow, just to see that data's passing through correctly and it's doing what we expect it to do. So perfect. So we've sent our request and we've taken that booking ID and we've held that in our data. We then want to use that in our next request. So to the right of create durables, perfect. Let's go ahead and send that data to another send request.
But where can I check like that booking ID is properly set? The value has been set properly to booking ID.
Well, we'll know, won't we? Because if you try and execute the GET request without a booking ID, it just won't work. So we'll see. We should see that in the terminal if that fails. will know the booking ID has not been passed through. Okay, so here's where we enter our get existing ID from our RESTful Booker API. Perfect. Okay, we select our production environment again. So this time we want to assign a value to that variable. So there's a variable in there that needs a value, and we're going to tell it what value to use. So click on that assign values to variables in the send request. Perfect. Okay, so that's our request and our environment. So our variable, click add new. And again, we can select booking ID here. It knows we've created that. And we go to open bracket.
Okay.
And then select the durable this time. So instead of, you can select the variable, but you can also select that durable value. And I believe the advantage of durables is that they endure, I'm guessing. I mean, Alami, help me out.
I think so too. I actually discovered them, I think, yesterday when I was playing with it, and I was trying to figure out, because it was just, I think it was called set variables before, but
Yes.
the variables would then be just local to that single flow, or like that single instance. And I think, yeah, the durables are.
Okay, so you can now use this durable value in any of your flows. Is that the idea?
I don't know. I don't want to say anything wrong.
You could try that. That's a good experiment. Okay, so type in your close bracket there at the end. Perfect.
I think it's not. Oh, got it. Yeah.
Great, and then close that down. Okay. So what we've said here, and then you might want to put add a terminal onto the end of that from the response data. So that's going to give us the response of that final request. It won't give us the response data for the send request, because that's not what we're asking it for. We're just asking it for the request prior. And because there's only one data input into the terminal, we're only going to get one value, I think.
Should I start?
Go ahead. Fingers crossed, everyone.
I really like this animation, like the blue dot is going with the
It's
flow.
lovely, isn't it? Doesn't it make you feel good when you see it? Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check out our terminal.
Wow.
And here we can see we have a value for that durable field. And that is the booking ID that was created in the post request. So that is, in summary, this is our flow that has allowed us to pass response data from one request flow that data into a kind of permanent store that I want to check if we can use that on our other flow. I'm curious. Hopefully we can, but we can certainly use it for other items within this same flow if we wanted to add other requests in.
Yeah,
we can pass that parameter in there.
I think that was more how I seen it. The way I saw it is that before variables, so in the same flow, you could have different flows, which is a weird way to say it, right? But your variables would kind of expire at the end once this flow was executed. I think now, if you had like different path to your flow, you could actually use it in different places. But I've not experienced with it just yet, so I think that it's worth exploring.
And I like the step that you've done there. That looks nice. See how your mind works, Vikram.
Yeah.
It's a waterfall. It's flowing.
It's good, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so does that make sense what we've done there? Does anyone else have any questions taking a look at that doesn't make sense to anyone?
So it makes sense to me. I know we had a couple of comments. So we had Alex saying, "Thank you for taking the time, guys. Later you need to learn more about the flow test and link a few APIs." We had a comment on LinkedIn, which didn't show up in my chat here, but from Oran that says, "You are doing a fantastic job. Thanks." So people are loving it so far. I'm not seeing so many questions. So yeah, all good.
That's exactly what I wanted. Great. Excellent. So what time are we on? Do you have time for one last flow? Is the question.
You tell us. We have about 20 minutes left, I think. So if
Right,
you think
you
we
ready
can
for this?
achieve it?
Turbocharge flow creation, Vikram. Right.
Okay.
Yes, let's
Let's
go.
Okay, the last flow is going to be using looping. So one thing that I've found very, very tricky to get my head around is using JavaScript is how to loop through information. So for example, to say for every record that comes back in this really long response body, do this thing. Flows allows you to do that really, really easily. So if you go ahead and add, so the only request we're going to be using in this workflow is just the get all bookings endpoint from within RESTful Booker. If you wanted to just check that out, it's in the get bookings.
Yeah.
Perfect. Get all bookings. Awesome. So go ahead and call that for me. You not like a nice clean workspace? My workspace is terrible. I have about 50 tabs open at any one time.
That's because we picked a random workspace. You should see all the other ones.
Okay, so let's go into get all bookings and just execute that endpoint so everyone can see what it does.
I will just fast forward it.
Yeah, I think you can go fast in the things we've done in other flows. We actually had Jettison saying speed round.
Yeah,
so.
let's go. Okay, so we won't do that. Let's forget that. In the name of expediency, the endpoint gets all of the bookings that have been made. That's what it does, and it returns them all. So lots of booking IDs are returned. What we want to do here is create a for each loop. So go ahead and add a for each block. Perfect. And here we're going to need another expression. So open that bracket for me. Okay, and then you're adding the for body. So can you see next to the body it says list? So you've got the for drop down next to that. Perfect. Next to the body it says list. So it's a list that this block is looking for. So if you tried to enter a single record, there's nothing to loop through, right? There's just one thing. So if you select the body where it said perfect, and then close the bracket off. So if this makes sense, this is saying for every entry in that body of the request, go ahead and start that and see if that works okay. Nice. So we can see there that blue dot moved through. For each of those things, we're going to add a condition. So on the output of the for each block, add a condition block. Okay, so what this does is performs a kind of check against that data and allows you to have two outputs. So if this condition is true, do this. If this condition is false, do that. The other block you could use is a check block, which I think just does a check and will only pass it through if it's true. So we're going to use a condition. Go ahead, and so what I want to do here is just show you that if you ever find this little panel a little too small for what you're trying to do, you can click the little square box there on the top row of the condition perfect, and this opens up a larger workspace for you to kind of play in.
Okay.
So perfect, go ahead, open those brackets, and this time we're going to select our data and our booking ID. Okay, and then we want to add a condition. So I guess let's add our condition to say less than. So if our booking ID is less than or equal to, perfect.
Oh, wait, sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fine too. And then you can enter numerical values in here. So let's say 10. Perfect. That's fine. Yeah. And then, so yeah.
It's string, no?
Yeah, I know. It's a little tricky to get used to. If you enter 10 again, then it enters it as a number. So select the number this time, and then the close brackets. So here's our condition. If the booking ID that comes out of our loop is less than or equal to 10, then what next? So close this condition off. And at the end of the condition, you've got two outputs there. So one is if it's true, accept. And the other one is if it's false, reject. So we're going to use the accept one, and we're going to output that to a terminal. And this is where I think more advanced workflows would come into place, right? You would say, if this condition is false, then run this workflow, or send a message through Slack, or, the possibilities are just endless for what you can do. I know Joyce did a brilliant video about flows, if anyone wanted to look, where she's switching a disco light on and off through the flows. It was really cool. So we don't necessarily need a terminal block there, but you can add one if you wish. I think I tried to do this and it didn't work. So let's try it with this one. Okay, so the end-to-end flow here is get all of the bookings in a GET request, run a for each loop against all of those bookings, and check the booking ID. And if that booking ID is less than or equal to 10, pass it up to that terminal. So what I want you to look at here is the blue lines to see around the for each loop. See how many blue dots you can spot.
Is that a challenge?
No.
You can see the record number.
You will not be able to count them.
Okay.
Go for it.
So the challenge begins. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was
that is
going.
Yeah. So this is really useful to me because it's telling you it is looping through something. It's a visual representation that it's still thinking about things. It's still churning through this data. And when that's all stopped, then all of the output should be there. So there we go. That's our output. We can see the booking IDs in there. There shouldn't be anything less than greater than 10. We've got all of those in there.
Is this? Oh, yeah, it is still running. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
It's done. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, so that is our third and final flow.
That was
so
fast.
We've done. It was fast, wasn't it? Vikram, definitely. You've got the hang of it now.
Yes.
But the more you practice, for sure, the more this becomes kind of intuitive. And I think it's intuitive anyway, right? Having this canvas and snapping things in and passing this stuff through, to me, makes more sense than JavaScript. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Postman team kind of develop this, and some of the new things they put in there are going to be really, really interesting. So yeah, well done, Vikram, for following
I really liked it.
my attempt at
I really
instructions.
liked it.
So what do you think of flows, having played with it now?
So, like, to be very frank, like, this was the first time and I really enjoyed it. Like, I can just add couple of more requests and go on and on. Maybe that's the simplicity. Like, previously we used to write like couple of test scripts in pre-request or test, and now this has made like a lot more simpler. And instead of writing the actual code, you just go with no code.
Yeah, I wanted to show another benefit of that, but Vikram cut me off. I was trying to show how you can collaborate in real time. So that thing that showed on your screen, Vikram, is just me using the same flow at the same time. So let
Wow.
me give me 1 sec. I'm just going to refresh the page and access it again. So you should see me adding a condition block soon. I
Oh,
can add a condition. I can say, well done,
so that was
Vikram.
you. I thought by default, like by mistake, I have clicked something.
Oh, just writing a random condition. And then, yeah, so you can see, like, as I go, and you could have like multiple people on the same flow building different branches of it. Yeah, it's real time
That's
collaboration in flows.
lovely. I've not seen that before. That's amazing. The other thing that you can do, which we didn't really go into, but these little noodles, the little flow control icons, they can be put into any of these requests. The only one they can't go back to is the beginning of the start button. But you can loop things round so the output goes into any of these blocks here, and that makes the options quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, I could probably, let me try. What if I loop this one back? So I've done, let's see, when it updates on your screen. Yep, there you go. Which looks
Jefferson
weird.
said we need to coin the term noodles. We totally do.
Yeah, and probably, so this definitely doesn't work. But what I've done, you can see the exit of the condition. One of them goes to the terminal. Wait, Vikram. So one of them goes to the terminal, and then one of them goes back to the for each. And yeah, as Beth mentioned, you can just have them just going places. So we had quite a few questions coming in on the end there. So let me go quickly through them. We obviously have Kumai saying collaboration is always nice to have, for sure. I think collaboration has been in the blood of Postman for a while. Like anything you can do in Postman, you have collaboration enabled through comments, forks, merge, watches, etc., etc. So it's baked in there. Jedison confirms we need to coin the term noodles. Okay.
Yeah, plus 1,000. We totally do.
Why animation is showing there is something keep coming from send requests. Yes, we were looping, so that's why it kept on coming until the loop was finished. So it eventually finished. Then we have, what else do we have? I think that's about it. Then we have Pritam saying, "Love the session. When can we expect the stable version?" I think Beth, you had some insights on that.
Yeah, the secret squirrel flows team at Postman have. I did ask this question thinking someone would ask me it, so I'm glad you did. I think sometime. I think the next 3 to 5 months, depending on what comes out of the beta and the feedback that they get. So we're not talking too far before that that release candidate is ready and good to go.
Cool. And yeah, there is a question that I missed that Vikram just reminded me. Can we share our fork flows by Cassier? Not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully it's going to come at some point. I'm not going to share any ETA. I don't want to take any risk there. But yes, as I mentioned, right, like we do want to enable collaboration and sharing in Postman, and you can see more and more of this through the public workspaces, etc. So I would say expect it to be available at some point. Cool. We have like about 10 minutes left. There's a few things I wanted to share before we go. So first, thank you, Beth. Thank you, Vikram. That was amazing. You went through everything you wanted to go through. What did we see? We saw how to, using flows, use requests from 2 different collections in 2 different environments in the same flow. Second one was set variables.
That's right.
And then use them throughout
durables.
the flow. Durables. So we're using the booking ID and then using it in a subsequent request. And then the third one was loops. So how can you loop in your flow based on a specific condition? And then we just played around with collaboration in real time. If you're wondering why Beth knows all that, it's because she's worked on FlowLab, and she actually has many articles on her blog. So I'm going to share that quickly. And I think I have so I'm not entirely sure which one you released first, but Beth has 3 blog posts around flows, which is this one, a guide to Postman flows. She has this one where there's like 5 example flows, so that you can do in Postman, and I think they walk you through every time. And some of them will be quite similar to what we've done today, but there's more. So passing variables between requests, looping data, take inputs from multiple sources. That's good. Oh, I like that one. So you're taking 2 different requests and then kind of concatenating them.
Yep.
Passing
Bringing values
data
in.
between
Cool.
requests. Yeah. And generating a testament report. And then a blog reference guide. So this one I'm guessing this one might be a bit out of date already. Because some of the things have changed. But I know I also mentioned at the start there's this reference guide here, which this one should be up to date. So I'm going to put these links in the chat in a minute, and they'll also be available in the description of the video for anyone watching the recording. Anything else I should mention coming from your end, Beth?
No, I mean, the thing that I noticed in publishing those blogs, so I don't have access to anything at Postman, obviously, because I don't work there. But in publishing these blogs about flows, one thing that really struck me was how popular they were. So this is really a feature that I know a lot of people are interested in, because I can see who's looked at the blog, and it is people from all over the world who are really, really curious about flows. So if anyone wants to, I don't know, speak to me about maybe collaborating on something, or they want to, they've used flows for something really neat, like please get in touch with the flows team and myself to like talk about that more, because there is a real appetite for teaching people how to use this stuff, because it might be BAs or, you know, non-technical people in your space that can start to use Postman effectively. So yeah.
So what's the best way to reach out to you? Would it be Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at Beth_askher. So I'm usually lurking on Twitter, but I'm also on LinkedIn. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to add whoever. And yeah, it's been really nice.
Cool.
Thank you for having me today.
No worries. Before we finish, we usually have a quick round of shoutouts to content. So I know I just shouted out all of Beth's content around flows, but I do have another one, which I should have. Let me check. I should have a caption ready for it. That's not the one. Let me just quickly edit that. So we have a challenge going on at the moment, which is if you tweet using the hashtag Postman favorites, and you just tell us what is your favorite Postman feature. So for example, is your favorite Postman feature flows after this stream? Might be. You might tweet about it. So it's challenged during the whole month of January, and we do a random pick at the end of the month, and you'll be eligible to win a Postman bobblehead. Actually, don't have one with me. I was not even eligible to win it, so I don't have one to show because there's so few out there. But you could be the lucky winner of one.
You can show the bobblehead, Alimi.
You can show. Do you have it?
No, means you can show it online.
I could.
I don't have it.
That's fine. I'm actually going to, or maybe I'll give this one to Beth. I don't know if you had any shoutouts, but maybe you can talk about the book you have behind you.
Oh, I can demonstrate the lovely book. So Postman sent me this for helping with flows, and they're always really they've got amazing swag, and this is a absolutely awesome graphic novel all about Postman. It's just really, really cool. Like, you do the best stuff. So I've got Postman socks on today, and I've got books and all sorts of things. So yes, take a look at the graphic novel.
If you want to check it out, you can access that website, api-first-world.com. You can read it online, or if you want a hardcover, you can also get that. It's up to you. And then I think that's it for me. Vikram, did you have anything?
No, not really, but
No.
I would like to give a shout out to Beth. I really learned like awesome flows. I have been like looking forward to what new things has been coming at Postman, but this was completely new and I enjoyed it. Thanks for teaching me how exactly this flow worked and what are the things that we should like keep looking for when we are building a flow. Thanks for that.
Fabulous. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
that was great. I see many comments. Thank you to all of you. Flows makes your life easier and happier. True. But yeah, thank you all for joining. This is the end of this week's live stream. We're coming back next week with Joyce. I think it's going to be Joyce and me, and we'll be trying to build and deploy an API in less than 10 minutes. I think that's our challenge. The stream is still going to be an hour and a half, so I don't know what we're going to do for the rest of the stream. We'll figure out on the go. But yeah, at least 10 minutes of this is going to be us trying to build and deploy an API in that amount of time. And that's it for us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Beth. Thank you,
Thanks
Vikram.
so much, everyone.
See you
Thanks
next
for
time.
coming.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.